Age of Jackson, Note-Taking Study Guide, page 101. Please be on page 223 in your textbook as well, so you can follow along and refer to it if you need to. How did people gain more power during the Age of Jackson? The Age of Jackson is known as a time where regular people got to experience more democracy. Democracy was expanded to more people. Okay, so the important events during the Age of Jackson is first, we had the presidential election, and we had a bunch of people running: Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay, William H. Crawford, and Andrew Jackson won that election. The problem is Jackson did not receive a majority of the electoral votes. And if you remember from our study of the Constitution, that means he didn't win, even though, he has to win a majority of the Electoral College votes. Even if he won the most, he didn't win. So the vote was decided by the House of Representatives, and this meant that John Quincy Adams actually won. And this was called a corrupt bargain by Andrew Jackson voters, basically saying there was some kind of deal worked out between John Quincy Adams and the House of Representatives. The John Quincy Adams presidency, as I said before, there was a corrupt bargain, a secret deal to win the election. And he had ambitious plans, but really accomplished little because of that. He didn't really have the backing of the people. He didn't actually win a majority of the votes, didn't win a majority of the Electoral College votes, and so he had no power to get his plans done. He lacked the political skills to push his programs through Congress, and he just didn't have the popular backing either. So the presidential election in 1828, Andrew Jackson ran again against John Quincy Adams, and Andrew Jackson won this one. And it revealed growing sectional and class differences, meaning that certain sections of the country, certain classes of the country voted for certain presidencies. Okay. In the presidential election of 1832, he won again. Andrew Jackson won again, and he made some key political decisions. This gets into the changes. This gets into the meat of the question of how do people gain more power. First, there was under the issue of suffrage, meaning those who can vote. How it changed: almost all adult males were allowed to vote and hold office. What it replaced: most states required men to own property before they could vote. So this was an expansion, not for what we understand today of inclusion of women and all ethnicities, but this was an expansion during the time period. The next was choosing the Electoral College, how it changed. In most states, voters chose the electors. What it replaced is it used to be state legislators chose the electorals. So basically, people are voted directly for the electors rather than being basically left out of the process. The third kind of change was the political candidates. Okay, the Whigs and Democrats began holding large nominee conventions to choose political candidates rather than small kind of caucuses where they selected candidates. So you can see this even today. You have the Republican National Convention, Democratic National Convention. That's continued, where you have more inclusive of people rather than just party bosses basically decide. And the fourth and final change is it was basically an underlying idea of who should actually participate in politics itself. And ordinary citizens should vote and hold public office. That was the idea. That you didn't have to be wealthy, you didn't have to be highly educated, you didn't have to be from a certain class of people. That if you were an ordinary person, you could vote and hold office. And this replaced the idea that you had that money and power to vote and run for office.